De-nuking Iran is not going to happen exactly like you think. There are going to be some specific tactics involved that involve cyber warfare that we're going to cover in this video, as well as the hard assets, the metal assets that would be involved as well, from the B-2, the F-35, the F-18s, all the way to the F-15Es and F-16s that are in theater. In this video, we're going to discuss what the Oval Office has recently said. They've basically said, give up your nuclear program, Iran, or get bombed. And when asked, do the options actually include military action against Iran if they don't give up their nuclear program? The president has said, yes, of course it does. So that puts us in a position where all these different tactics are likely to be used if Iran doesn't give up that nuclear program. And I want to talk to you about an event that happened in October of 2024. This was a strike from Israel on Iran, and this showcased the sophisticated military ability to use a coordinated attack against an adversary. And this to me highlights the way that if action needed to be taken against Iran, now again, hopefully it can be avoided, but if it needs to be taken against Iran, it would likely follow the same framework of this attack. To me, this was a very well orchestrated attack by Israel on Iran, and they targeted military facilities that focused on rocket production, drone making equipment, other military supplies. So it follows the same structure that likely a new attack would follow. We're going to talk about some of the assets that were used in that, but I want to start out by talking about the soft power, the things that likely aren't known. These are essentially the badasses that used to live in their mom's basement that are executing cyber attacks and softening the entire grid of surface-to-air missiles and other air defense countermeasures that Iran would likely use. So guys like me, former F-15E combat fighter pilot, F-16 Thunderbird pilot, if I'm going into a hostile nation, I'm very grateful for these keyboard warriors who are down there doing the job to shut down these sophisticated networks of communication nodes that allow the surface-to-air missile facilities to talk to each other. And in the case of those attacks in October of 2024, Israel softened the grid of advanced surface-to-air missiles that were likely given to Iran from Russia. S-300 missiles. These are extremely highly capable surface-to-air missiles, and any fourth-generation fighter is not going to want to go teeth to teeth with these things. They've got over a 100 nautical mile range. Their radars are highly capable, so softening the structure of these is no easy task. Israel likely used Unit 8200, which is a cyber warfare attack outfit that is based out of Israel. These hackers are top of the line. They go head to head with the best hackers from Russia and Iran. So these hackers being able to get in and disable very sensitive radars and surface-to-air missile structures just shows the level that they're playing at. And this follows some of the previous attacks that Israel has done towards Iran. Stuxnet was an attack that was done on Iran. Stuxnet was first uncovered in 2010, but it was likely operating in Iranian nuclear facilities since 2005. This was a malware virus that essentially shut down the entire Iranian nuclear program. So it shows you how Unit 8200 operates and what they're capable of. And as an aviator myself, and with some of the jets that we're going to talk about here in a second, having extremely talented keyboard warriors going in and destroying these capabilities of these surface-to-air missiles prior to you going in, it just gives you a little extra level of confidence so that you can focus on your targets as you go into that hostile territory. So we're going to focus now on the different hardware that would be used if the US needs to go in. When it comes to which hackers would be used, I think it would just depend who's the most badass hacker. Let's see. Let's do a hack off to see who's going to lead this new Stuxnet virus that we're going to put in place prior to our fighters going in. So likely that would be a combination as well, with the US leading the charge. But now let's talk about what jets would go in if the red button was pushed and Iran decided not to give up their nuclear program. That would be a bad idea. Iran, please, if you're watching, I'm sure the Ayatollah is watching this, obviously. He subscribes from what I've been told. Please give up that nuclear program. Even though that would be great content, I would greatly appreciate avoiding a war like this. But let's talk about what would happen if B-2s, F-35s, F-16s, and F-15s went in. Well, it's likely going to mirror that October 2024 attack because Israel sent in F-35Cs first. So they disabled many of the SAMs with their malware virus, and then they sent in the F-35C because it's essentially invisible to radar. So that is likely what would happen with the US going in first as well. And then Israel, as you probably could guess, sent in F-15s and F-16s, highly capable two-seat platforms that went in with pre-planned strike targets, and they took out very sensitive, very well hidden, I might add, rocket facilities and drone equipment supply manufacturers. And that essentially set back the Iranian nuclear program by what analysts have said is more than a year. When it comes to some of this rocket propulsion technology, they basically had to start from scratch in a lot of different cases. So that is likely what the US would do as well. But the US would have one key difference, and it involves some spirit. Some spirits, my friend. Let's talk about that beautiful spirit and what would likely go in first just after the malware attacks took place. That is that beautiful B-2 bomber. Currently, there are said to be 6 or 7 of these stationed at Diego Garcia. And this is significant because when the US went into Iraq in the early 2000s, they had these B-2s based at the exact same place. But the key difference was they only had about half of the B-2s at Diego Garcia, and then the other half of the B-2s came in from Whiteman Air Force Base, basically flew probably a 24 to 30 hour mission. I would rather be based at Diego Garcia, so that way you could launch your weapons, do what you need to do, and then make it home in time for dinner. But if you're launching from Whiteman in the United States, that's essentially a 24 to 30 hour mission. So it looks like with the pre-positioning and forward movement of the B-2s, those would be slightly shorter missions, so they could get back faster, rearm, reload, and get bombs on target faster. So it's even more of a flex. It's even more of a show of force of having double the amount of B-2s at Diego Garcia. So the B-2s would likely be the first wave in, and they would disable even more of the critical surface-to-air missile infrastructure, as well as the underground cities that Iran has in place that houses a lot of their sensitive military equipment and fighter jets. And it'd be raining down the GBU-57, which is a 30,000-pound bunker buster bomb. Here's another thing I think the B-2s might do. They likely wouldn't just be loaded down with the GBU-57. They would also be loaded down with different types of weapons that could take out runways. So they would likely take out many different runways where drones could launch from, or different drone launching towers, and they would basically disable the ability of Iran to launch an attack against US personnel in the region. The US has personnel stationed in Iraq, so it would likely take out a lot of the weapons facilities that could launch retaliatory missile strikes on those troops, as well as any type of retaliatory missile strikes against Israel. That would be one of the focuses of the B-2. And then after that beautiful B-2 rolled through, you guessed it, my friend, it's time for the F-35C Lightning II. It's time for that F-35C to roll in and use some of its incredibly combat capable software and hardware to take down essentially any other surface to air missile threat, basically disabling and crippling the entire grid of Iran so that they couldn't retaliate against any of the strikers coming in. And those beautiful strikers, as you guessed it, would include the first love of my life, the F-15E Strike Eagle, which is based in the region. So let's pull up this map of US forces currently based in the region as we speak about that beautiful Strike Eagle, where it may be taking off from. There are a lot of different options. I mean, there's options that include UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, potentially even Saudi Arabia. Although Saudi Arabia has its own F-15EX type variant, a very advanced F-15E. So it's up for debate whether the Saudis would be actually participating and sending in strikers on this as well. They're highly capable, very good at what they do. They participate in large force exercises with US F-15Es as well. So that could be an option as well, which could basically double your Strike Eagle force that's actually in the region. At the end of the day, the F-35Cs would roll in. They'd be striking their pre-planned targets. They'd be loaded down to the teeth. They'd also be ready for any type of air-to-air combat that might take place as Iran desperately launches F-4s, F-5s, F-14s. When it comes to launching these fighters, it would essentially be like Iran's in a drunken dart-throwing match in a bar at 3 a.m. where they're just kind of launching and hoping that they hit something. But hey, at the end of the day, there would be hundreds of aircraft from the US, from Israel, from potentially Saudi Arabia. So even a drunken dart thrower might end up hitting something just because of the sheer numbers of aircraft that are in the region. But the F-35Cs would be trying to prevent that. They would essentially be trying to schwack these F-5s, F-14s, and F-4s with AMRAAMs as soon as they took off. But again, likely a lot of the airfields would be disabled by the B-2, so a lot of these aircraft wouldn't even get airborne to begin with. And then continuing to check out that map, we've got the USS Harry Truman Carrier Strike Group, the USS Carl Vinson Carrier Strike Group in the Persian Gulf. These are highly capable carrier strike groups with over 90 aircraft each. So you've got F-18Es, which are single-seat air superiority fighters, and then F-18Fs, which are dual-seat Stryker aircraft. So these would be rolling in conjunction with F-15Es. The only advantage the F-15E is really going to have over an F-18F is the fact that the F-15E is going to be able to carry more gas and they're going to be able to carry more armament. However, the proximity of the F-18Fs, the Navy jets, would be closer likely to where the F-15Es would be based. So the F-18s could be first in on target and then first out, and then F-15Es rolling in behind to take out pre-planned targets with a specialized weapon that I've done a lot of work with basically my entire career in the Air Force, and we're going to talk about that right now. And that is the GBU-28. If you've seen this thing is just a beast. It looks relatively similar to some of the other laser-guided weapons that the US inventory has, except it just looks like they literally pumped it full of steroids for 10 years, and it grew to be this ridiculous behemoth of a bomb. This thing is just impressive being around it, and I've done a lot of the weaponeering with this thing. There's essentially entire programs which you can build, which show you where the bunkers are in Iran, how much earth it needs to get through, how much concrete it needs to get through, how much metal it needs to get through. And this thing is a weapon that is not talked about a lot, but I'm telling you, it's one of the most capable bunker buster weapons that we have. The depths that it goes down to are obviously classified, but the capability of the F-15Es to be carrying this thing, a 5,000-pound behemoth, into this hostile territory it just can't be understated. And obviously, gives me the tingles, makes me feel all warm inside knowing that multiple F-15Es would be rolling in carrying this thing. And those F-15Es would also be loaded out with AIM-120s, AIM-9Xs, and they'd be ready to take down any drones or any other fighters. It's essentially like a big game of what if. What if Iran does this? What if they do this? You don't know what's going to happen, so you have to be prepared for anything. That's why the versatility in the region really has given the US the upper hand. And Iran, if they're smart, if their military planners are smart, they literally know that this could be endgame for them. So at the end of the day, all these different systems, all these different abilities to target Iran give the US a lot of leverage, especially those keyboard warriors just crushing it from their mom's basement in Ohio or wherever you guys are. I'm only kidding. Really, it comes down to those people clearing the way, the surface-to-air missiles being shut down by sophisticated malware, by sophisticated hackers and cybersecurity experts. My hat is off to them. Thank you for paving the way for B-2s, F-35s, and all us fighter guys out there that are doing our best to make it happen. Fighter guys and fighter gals, thanks so much. Appreciate you guys being here. We will catch you on the next video. It turns out, guys, that only about 12%, like 11.4% of you are subscribed to the channel. If we could get half of you to subscribe, it would literally grow our subscriber base exponentially. We'd have over 1 million subscribers in a couple months, and I could do videos like this for you essentially every day. So please smash that subscribe button, dominate the like button, share this with friends, and watch another video that pops up over here. That'd basically be the biggest compliment you can give me. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll keep these videos coming to you. Most of all, have a great day.